Relationships and finances are the themes for this full moon lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Gemini on November 30th. With Uranus and Venus in the mix, expect the unexpected, particularly as it relates to love relationships, affection, and money. While this lunar eclipse will no doubt be intense, the purpose of this eclipse is to move things around in our lives so that what needs to stay stays and what needs to go can go. Are you ready to hear all about it? All right, let's go. What's up, everybody? I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. As always, my name is Mel and welcome to my channel, Divine Feminine Works. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. This channel is everything tarot, astrology, and spirituality. So if those are the things that interest you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, so this is the astro forecast and tarot scope for the full moon lunar eclipse in Gemini happening on Monday, November 30th. All right, so eclipses. We are officially in eclipse season. We've got this full moon lunar eclipse happening tomorrow. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse also happening. So this is going to be a somewhat tumultuous time. I know I've said this 1,000,001 times before that every month is intense. I mean, 2020 is intense, so that goes without saying. But we are really closing out 2020 with a bang with these two eclipses. Eclipses are really the universe's way of moving things around in our lives. Certain things need to be eclipsed out. Other things need to be eclipsed in. And with this full moon lunar eclipse, you can guarantee that things are going to be eclipsed out in your life, particularly as it pertains to love relationships and finances. Those are two of like the hot button topics for people, right? Especially when I do readings for clients, people always want to know about their money and they always want to know about their love life. And these are the two areas of our lives that are fair game for this particular eclipse. Now, let's get into the astrology of the eclipse before we get into the spiritual meaning of everything. So this eclipse is happening in the sign of Gemini, like I said, and it's happening at 8 degrees, which is really interesting because the last couple of full moons that we've had have also occurred at 8 degrees. And 8 is a very powerful number. It's a number of abundance. It's also the infinity symbol. So 8 holds a lot of weight, right? But not only that, the 8th degree is also the Scorpio degree. And as if we can't get enough Scorpio energy, right? We had Scorpio season, which was crazy intense. Even though now we're in Sagittarius season, we still have Venus that's still in Scorpio. So we still have that Scorpio presence, right? And then we also have this full moon lunar eclipse happening at the Scorpio degree. Now, Scorpio, like I've mentioned before, it's all about diving deep. It's all about emotions. In this particular context, as it relates to this full moon lunar eclipse, where it's going to bring up themes such as repressed emotions, truth, loyalty, jealousy, obsession, and shared resources. Like I said, Venus is still in the sign of Scorpio. And this is important because Venus is actually playing a part in this full moon lunar eclipse. So before I get ahead of myself, let me just mention briefly what full moons are for those of you that don't know. So the full moon is when the sun and the moon are opposite from each other. So there's always this level of tension and imbalance that full moons always bring because you've got two things on either, like at different ends of the spectrum. And when we're talking about the moon and the sun being opposite, this is us at our core. The sun represents our ego. It represents our very essence, right? Whereas the moon represents our emotions. It represents the things that we have within us, our soul in a sense. So there's this dichotomy between like our thoughts and our consciousness on the one hand with the sun, and our soul and our emotions on the other hand with the moon. And again, full moons sort of illuminate that imbalance. It may highlight that imbalance between our head and our heart, our thoughts and our emotions, that kind of thing. So we already have that going on with the full moon. Now, when you add the fact that this is an eclipse, eclipses, particularly a full moon lunar eclipse, is like a full moon on steroids. It's like the power of a full moon times 10. So if you were to have, it comes into your consciousness that you have an imbalance between what you think and what you feel. That is going to be exacerbated by 10 times when we're talking about an eclipse. So this dichotomy between your head and your heart, your thoughts and your emotions becomes amplified under an eclipse. Now, apart from it just being the moon opposite the sun, right? Because that's what a typical full moon is. We also have Venus opposite Uranus. And why this is important is because this Venus-Uranus opposition, and again, this opposition is this imbalance. It's two planets at different ends of the spectrum, in this case, Uranus and Venus. This Uranus-Venus opposition crisscrosses the moon-sun opposition. So there is this big X, like X marks the spot, that is the astrology of this full moon lunar eclipse. And with Venus opposite Uranus, Venus represents the things to which we are attached and attracted to. It represents relationships. So it's people that we have in our lives, people that we attach ourselves to. Whereas Uranus is really about freedom, self-expression, rebelling, and it also represents sudden change. Uranus is like the planet of surprises, and it's also the planet of sudden shifts. So you are going to experience sudden shifts as it relates to relationships during this full moon lunar eclipse in Gemini. Now, what's interesting also is that the rest of the astrology also plays into this as well, because we've got the moon quincunx Venus. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of what a quincunx is. I'm going to leave a link to a blog post that I wrote about all of the astrological aspects so you can read all about what a quincunx is. But how that is going to play out, this moon quincunx Venus, is that it's going to bring up this imbalance with respect to emotions and love, particularly the lack of emotions and love that we may have been experiencing. So maybe you need affection. Maybe we all need affection, right? But maybe this full moon lunar eclipse is going to highlight where you haven't been receiving affection, emotional support, and love in your relationships. The moon quincunx Venus is also going to bring up issues of secret friendships and affairs, which not only plays into this whole Venus-Uranus moon-sun opposition, thing that we've got going on. But remember, this full moon lunar eclipse is happening at 8 degrees. 8 degrees is the sign of Scorpio. Like I mentioned before, jealousy, loyalty, trust, obsession, all of these are going to come to the forefront, especially as it relates to cheating. Perhaps you are finding emotional support and love and affection in someone other than your committed partner. Additionally, this may not even have to do with cheating at all. Venus is also the sign of like comfort and luxury and food. So maybe you are seeking emotional fulfillment in food, particularly comfort food. Other people, it might be retail therapy. Maybe maybe you not receiving the emotional support, love, and affection that you feel that you need. You're sort of replacing that with shopping and retail therapy. So those are all things that are fair game during this full moon lunar eclipse. And again, this is all going to be sparked by sudden motion since we have Uranus in the mix. So there may be changes that occur that elicit a very emotional response, right? Something suddenly may happen within your relationships, or something suddenly may happen with respect to your finances that elicits this emotional response that may oh my gosh, I'm like tongue-tied, that may find you seeking solace and emotional comfort in someone else or food or retail therapy. You know, you guys get the point. And all of this is going to be highlighting imbalances, right? So it's going to be, maybe you're not giving enough emotional affection or love, or maybe you're not receiving it. Either way, all of that is going to be highlighted during this eclipse. Additionally, since we're talking about the moon, we're also talking about feminine energy, particularly mothers. So again, going back to this 8th degree theory, right? With this eclipse happening at the 8th degree, which is the Scorpio degree, there is this, repressed emotions, right? So maybe this eclipse is going to bring about, you know, the fact that maybe you didn't receive enough emotional support, love, or affection from your mother. Or maybe your mother was overly possessive or even jealous. And all of those things may come to the forefront with this eclipse. So needless to say, this eclipse is very, very emotionally intense. Again, if this is happening at the Scorpio degree, you already know that it's going to be emotionally intense, right? Also, there is this energy of tension and anxiety, and that is due in part to the Sun quincunx Uranus. So just to keep our heads on straight, right? I mentioned that this full moon is the moon opposite the sun, right? So we got that down. There's also Venus opposite Uranus, which is crisscrossing the moon opposite the sun, right? So we have this aspect between the moon and Venus and the sun and Uranus. So it makes this large triangle, right? This large triangle with an X in the middle. That's how all of this is playing out. So I already talked about the moon quincunx Venus, right? This is all of these repressed emotions, not getting enough emotional support, love, or affection. Now we also have the sun quincunx Uranus, and this aspect really talks about tension and anxiety, particularly as it relates to things changing around you. So the theme of this eclipse is love relationships. I'm not even going to say love relationships. I'm just going to say relationships in general, right? Things to which we are bound or have a commitment to. And our finances, because Venus also talks about, when you're talking about Venus, you're also talking about money, finances, things of that nature. So all of this is fair game and is the theme of this particular eclipse. Now with the sun quincunx Uranus, you're having this tension and anxiety that's brought out as a result of things changing around you rapidly or suddenly. So, you know, and that would bring up anxiety, stress, tension. So not only do you have this emotional factor where repressed emotions are coming up, you're feeling neglected, maybe abandoned because you're not feeling enough emotional support, love, or affection, but you're also feeling tension because things are changing around you. So your finances may be changing. Your relationships may be changing drastically. Maybe you're suddenly breaking up with someone. Maybe you guys have a huge fight and conflict, which brings up these issues of emotional support, love, and affection. Maybe this emotional love, support, and affection is negatively affecting your finances. If you are someone who indulges in retail therapy, anytime you have some of these emotional issues, this may be negatively affecting your relationship, perhaps as it pertains to your shared resources. Again, this is all happening at the 8th degree, which is the Scorpio degree, which covers shared resources. So if you are in a committed relationship where you and your partner have joint bank accounts, joint funds that you share, your spending habits that may be a result of repressed emotions, lack of affection, may be affecting your bottom line with you and your partner. So again, this is going to be a very emotional full moon lunar eclipse, to say the least, because it's bringing up emotion, it's bringing up tension, and you're also talking about money. When you put money and emotions together, you know it can be a real negative situation. So that being the case, and the case with every full moon is that, again, there's this issue of imbalance, this issue of polarity. You have planets on either end of the spectrum. And the remedy for that is always finding a middle ground. It's always about finding balance. With Uranus in the mix and things changing rapidly and suddenly and surprisingly, the best way to make it through this crazy energy is to only find a middle ground, find a balance, but also be flexible and adaptable. Whenever you're talking about Uranus, you've got to include some sort of discussion regarding flexibility and adaptability. You've got to roll with the punches. Don't stay stuck. Anyone who stays stuck during this energy, this is going to be a veritable nightmare for you because things are going to be changing around you and you're going to be feeling all of these things and not knowing how to deal with them. Recognize things for what they are. You know, Scorpio is all about the truth also, and anything that's coming out is going to be the truth. And what is this saying? The truth shall set you free. Some of you are going to experience major breakups. And again, this doesn't necessarily have to do with just romantic partnerships. You know, relationships are anyone to whom you are bound. So this could be, or anyone that you're committed to. To a very lesser extent, it could be friends. But for some of you, this may play out in the business arena. And it's very touch and go when you're talking about emotions and talking about business and money. So keep that in mind. Like anything that is coming up for a reason, because maybe it's not meant to be in your life. If we're talking about a full moon eclipse, this is about eclipsing things out of your life. So certain things, the change that may happen is that things may be eclipsed out. And I know that sucks, but it's ultimately for your highest good. I know it's going to be hard to keep that in mind when you're really going through it, but I have to say it nonetheless because it's the truth. Right? So again, be flexible, be adaptable, and in a certain sense, be creative. You know, when things rapidly change, it also brings out your creativity. Maybe there's a different way to solve these issues. Maybe there's a different way to communicate with your partner. Get creative in order to alleviate that stress and anxiety that you're feeling, and also to tackle those deep emotional wounds that seem to be coming up to the surface during this eclipse. And what I also found interesting, and when I was preparing for this video, I was shown almost like a movie of an avalanche. And I feel like that is the best way to describe this eclipse. It's almost like an avalanche. And you know, an avalanche can start out very small. It can start out from just a snowball or just a rock or, you know, just a little bit of sediment that it becomes a slippery slope, right? And what starts out really small can really snowball into a huge force of nature, right? That's the characteristic of an avalanche. And that is, again, characteristic of this eclipse. It's an avalanche of emotion. It's an avalanche of tension and anxiety. And it may be like the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? It may not be this whole big event or big conflict or big fight that happens that actually starts this wave of emotion and tension. It could be something really small that just snowballs and just gets out of control. And so again, you kind of have to just, and the thing of avalanches is most times you can't outrun it. Like you have to just let it pass and pray that you come out alive, right? That is the same way that you should deal with this eclipse energy. It's not to say that it's going to kill you, but it may feel like a death when you're talking about your emotions and you add stress on top of that. It's really going to like fuck with you. I'm not even gonna lie, but you've got to let it pass. You've got to let it pass and pray that you come out better on the other side. And it's not even just about praying. It's about being flexible and adaptable. But again, let that energy pass before you take any sudden movements, before you make any sudden decisions. Let the dust settle, let the snow settle so that you can emerge and then deal with the aftermath. That is the essence of this full moon lunar eclipse. And what's also interesting, and that I was also shown, is that this is happening in the sign of Gemini. And at first, when I looked at the astrology, I was like, you know, there's obviously that dichotomy between Gemini and Sagittarius. We've got the moon in Gemini and the sun in Sagittarius. And that axis is all about learning, education, facts, faith, you know, all of that. And I'm like, so how does, with Venus and Uranus, it seems kind of like it doesn't gel well. But then I remembered Gemini in the tarot is the lovers. So it makes perfect sense. It's things to which we are bound, things that we have a commitment to, that we have a sense of obligation. Those are the things that are coming up during this eclipse, right? And again, if you look at the image of the lovers in the traditional Rider-Waite, It is two people. They're not exactly joined together, but they're right next to each other. And then there's spirit above them. And that describes the eclipse perfectly because it's the universe's way of moving things around. For some of you, there are relationships that do not, they don't align with who you are or where you're trying to go. For others of you, there are habits that you have within relationships that also need to be eclipsed out of your life. So this is just Spirit's way of moving shit around and putting things in place where they need to be in our lives. And this is the first of two because we've got a new moon solar eclipse happening in about 2 weeks on December 14th. So buckle up, buttercups, because it's about to get real. But again, it's nothing we can't handle. We've handled a lot worse in this year, but just know that it's going to be a very emotional time, very stressful time, and you've got to just let the energy pass, ride the wave, be adaptable, and then handle things once the energy has subsided. And the effects of this eclipse can be felt 6 months. So we're looking at this sort of energy wave from now until May of 2021. So again, buckle up. It's going to be one hell of a ride. But again, keep in mind that it's for our greatest and our highest good. All right. So now that we've gotten the astrology out of the way, let's get into the tarot and see what messages Spirit has for us for this eclipse. First card out. Ooh, we've got failure. It says, I understand that a mistake is only an opportunity to learn. For some of you in these relationships, it's going to have you feeling like this. Your emotions are going to be all over the place. And I feel like some of you are like, if this relationship doesn't work, particularly if it's a committed relationship, like a marriage or something like that, I feel like a lot of you are going to be dwelling in this failure sort of energy. Don't do that. At least try not to. Again, eclipses are a way of bringing our attention to what's necessary in our lives and what's not. And it's Spirit's way of moving things around. And if something doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that that particular thing, that person, that place, whatever it is, it's just not meant for you. And there's no failure in that. You know, so try your best not to remain in this sort of low vibrational energy. All right. Then we've got recovery. So that's good. So I feel like a lot of you are going to be addressing a lot of these emotional wounds that are going to be coming up, especially as it relates to giving and receiving love, affection, emotional support. A lot of this is coming to the forefront to finally bring you this energy of recovery. I feel like a lot of people are walking around very wounded emotionally, carrying wounds perhaps from childhood, perhaps from birth even, I'm hearing. Others of you having gone through, turmoil and all of that stuff in relationships. A lot of you have been carrying these emotional wounds with you, especially as it relates to affection and love. And the eclipse is shaking shit up so that you can finally recover from this. Recover from those wounds, heal those wounds so you can move forward successfully. We've got yin. I feel like we get this card a lot. If it's not in the monthlies, it's in the other moon videos. But this is, the future is feminine. Let me just say that. And part of this energy shift that we are experiencing right now, not just with the eclipse, but in general, is to really get us in tune with our feminine sides, with our receptive sides. And again, with Venus being in the mix here, I feel like a lot of us are going to be focusing on love that we are receiving. For those that are single, this eclipse may be bringing up issues of self-love. Either, blockages we may have within ourselves that prevent us from loving ourselves in a healthy way. And I feel like some people are, it's hard for them to give love to others because they can't give love to themselves. And this eclipse is going to highlight that and really bring that to the forefront as well. And that could happen in a variety of ways. But regardless, it's going to be some sort of external circumstance that really brings you to a point where you have to do some internal healing and internal reflection. And for some of you, that is self-love issues. But for most of us, this is just another way of us getting in touch with our feminine energy, our receptive energy, our intuitive energy. It's almost like a lot of the full moons, especially the last couple of ones that have been happening at the 8th degree as well, have all been designed to help us get in touch with our feminine energy. 8, the number 8 is a feminine number. Scorpio is a feminine sign. So again, it's all about getting in touch with our feminine side. And that's where the future is. The future to where we're going, this new world that we're going to, is all about getting in touch with your feminine energy. And if you're not able to do that, you're going to have a really hard time, not just with this eclipse, but with everything going forward. So now is the time to really reflect. Now is really the time to heal those wounds so that you can receive love. You can be in a place of receptivity. Okay, we've got perseverance. And this is 4. I'm hearing that for some of you, y'all have been going through this relationship issue that is going to come to light with this full moon lunar eclipse. A lot of you have been in it for a long time. And if you haven't been in the relationship for a long time, I'm hearing that it's like the habits that you brought into the relationship, you've been exhibiting for a long time. These wounds are nothing new. These are wounds, these are like seasoned wounds that you have been carrying for the longest. You've been persevering through this. And with this being green, the heart chakra, some of you have been carrying around heartache and heartbreak for the longest. It's been hindering you from giving and receiving love in the way that you would like or in a healthy way. And it's just been negatively impacting your relationships on a very deep level, like subconsciously is what I'm hearing, to the point where you don't even realize what you're doing. You're not conscious of what you're doing or what you're feeling because these wounds are so deep and under the surface. And it's like y'all have been trudging through it, right? Y'all have been, every relationship you've been in, even if you've been in this particular relationship for a long time, I feel like you have been like really persevering, but you haven't even realized what you've been persevering against. And that is what this full moon lunar eclipse is going to show you. It's going to show you, oh, you've swept this emotion under the rug. Oh, I'm bringing this out for you to deal with finally, because it's time for you to recover. Oh, and then we have optimism. This is great. Particularly as we're dealing with the sun in Sagittarius. This card is so sun in Sagittarius because Sagittarius is all about optimism. And with the sun being there, our consciousness is directed toward optimism and faith. And even though we're about to go through this really crazy emotional time with this eclipse, the sun, the presence of the sun here is letting me know that a lot of you are going to be able to withstand whatever this eclipse is bringing, whether it be emotional turmoil, whether it be stress, anxiety, tension, insecurity issues even, because there's going to be this undercurrent of optimism. So as bad as it may get, it's not going to get completely bad because there's still a part of you, there's still your consciousness is going to be directed toward optimism and faith. And it's almost like you're going to be able to see the silver lining to all of this. And then finally, we have the anchor. And this is what, a 35, which is an 8. And again, this is happening at the Scorpio degree, the 8th degree. This kind of energy is not going to help you. This anchor, right, that keeps you stuck, that keeps you stagnant, is really not going to help you with this eclipse. You've got to raise that anchor so that you can set sail. Don't get stuck, especially in your emotions, because you see, with the presence of the mermaid here, we know that we're underwater. And this is the essence of Scorpio, being underwater, being in the deepest part of the ocean. Do not get stuck here. Do not get stuck in your emotions. Do whatever you need to do to get unstuck by any means necessary. Again, some of you are going to want to run to someone else. Some of you are going to want to run to eat some great food. Others of you are going to want to run online and start shopping. I wouldn't suggest those things. But all I'm saying is that don't remain stuck. in your emotions. Do not, by any means necessary, keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. Remember that there is a silver lining to all of this. And when everything is said and done, whatever has left, whatever has been eclipsed out of your life was meant to. And it means that that void is going to be filled with something even better. That's the optimistic attitude that you need to have with this eclipse. And I know it's going to be hard. I'm not saying everything's going to be rainbows and roses, but you've got to look past that emotional turmoil that you're going to be feeling and be unstuck, be flexible. All right, let's get into the tarot and see what messages we have. All right, so we have the Tower. This is the essence of Uranus energy. So shit is about to fall apart. Not even gonna lie, not even gonna sugarcoat it. Shit is about to fall the fuck apart. For good reason though. If you look, see that dove there? There's a sense of peace that you're going to feel when everything is said and done. All right. We've got the Princess of Wands. We've got the Three of Wands. We've got the Death card. All right. A little ominous. Let's get two more cards out here. Oof. We've got the Devil. All right. But I'm hearing unstuck. But let's get one more card out here. And then we have Adjustment, which is like the Justice card. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Hanged Man. So whatever is going on is going to have you looking at things from a very different perspective. There's a certain sacrifice that has to be made. And I think that for a lot of you, it's going to have to do with a relationship. Because we've got the Death card here. So there's definitely endings. It's like the Tower and the Death card is endings. Something happens suddenly. This could be sudden endings. For some of you, I'm hearing it's like, for some of you, this relationship hasn't even gotten off like the ground yet. You're still in the beginning stages of it. And it's going to fall apart before it's even really come together. And with the presence of the Devil card here, it's like there's this energy of being stuck. Look at what he's sitting on, right? It's a whole bunch of people. It's like they're trapped in this bubble. And like I said, eclipses are Spirit's way of moving things around, of shifting things. And with this energy of Uranus, right, of sudden happenings, Uranus is also characterized by like a thunderbolt. When thunder strikes, it's sudden, it's loud, it's jarring. That's exactly what's happening here, but it's allowing you to be unstuck. Remember I said with this Anchor card, you cannot stay stuck. And Spirit is like, indeed, I need you to be able to break free from these bubbles and put things in balance. Full moons are all about highlighting imbalance. It's about polarities. And with Venus opposite Uranus in the mix, it's imbalances on like 10 different levels. And the whole point of this, being that this is the last card out, the whole point of this is to set things in balance. Set things in balance. Some of you, this has to do with business, with the Three of Wands here. Some of you can be in business with a fire sign. Some of you could be in a relationship with a fire sign. That would be Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. But for some of you, this business has been very imbalanced. Others of you may be going to court to set the balance. It's like, I'm hearing like some of y'all are done talking. Now you just want to get the courts involved to solve this issue. But whatever it is, whether it's a romantic relationship, a business partnership, there's a lot of dark energy here currently. A lot of dark energy. And control issues. Someone in the partnership or the relationship really wants to control the other person or control how the relationship goes. And it's to someone's detriment. Like in doing so, in wanting to exert control over the relationship or over someone else, it's like the scales are wildly imbalanced. And for the person who is at the lower end of the scales, I feel like they've persevered through this because of these emotional wounds that they've been carrying around that has had them anchored. Yeah, some of y'all want to break free and start something new. Some of you, even if you don't want to, I feel like that's what's going to happen. Like, getting you unstuck is to get you moving in a very different direction. And it's getting you to move in a direction where like self-autonomy is more important to you. Meaning that you have the freedom to create things as you would like, rather than being controlled and stifled by someone else. Some of you, it's outside influences that are going to be the downfall of your relationships, whether they are personal or business. You've got some sort of fire-breathing monster, if you can see that at the bottom of the card, which to me signifies like an outside influence. So this could be someone else that is almost like plotting against you so that your relationship fails. Let's get some more cards out here. Let's get one on the Tower. We've got mature woman. Some of you, this fire-breathing monster could be a mature woman. I'm hearing for someone, it's someone's mother. Like someone's mother constantly gets in the way of their relationship. And it could be like in a very overt way. Like, let me give you an example. Perhaps you're a woman dating a man and the man happens to be a mama's boy. And so his like loyalty to you is always compromised by his loyalty to his mother. For others of you, this fire-breathing dragon is the emotions that you received from your mother. So remember how I was talking about earlier that some of you have mother issues. Maybe your mother didn't give you enough love. Maybe your mother was overly possessive or jealous. I feel like that for a lot of you is going to be the reason why these relationships crumble. And that's what's going to come to the forefront with this eclipse. Let's get one on death. We've got concern. So some of you have been thinking like the ending of this relationship has been on your mind for a minute. Or someone who like wants to break free from this relationship has been thinking about it for a long time. Or it's just the stress. Remember I talked about there's going to be a lot of tension, stress, and anxiety during this eclipse. A lot of this is going to be related to the ending of a relationship. Let's get one on this Princess of Wands. Some of you could also be dealing with a Libra or a Scorpio. Ooh. Oh no. Okay. What I'm also hearing now is that for some of you, it's like this eclipse is going to be the boiling point where the pot, like the lid of the pot just shoots off because it's boiled over. But this has been in the works for some of you since Libra season, going into Scorpio season. And it won't like, for some of you, it won't come to a culmination until Capricorn season. But again, some of you have been concerned about this for a while, possibly as long as Libra season. Let's get one on Princess of Wands. This one fell on the floor, but I was inclined to take it. And this is false person on the Princess of Wands. Someone in this relationship has not been authentic. And what number is this again? This is an 8. Like, we've got 8s all over the place. Yeah, someone hasn't been authentic. Again, someone's probably been cheating. I mean, look, you see that man in the background. Someone's definitely been less than loyal. And it could be this fire sign. All right. Let's get one on the Devil. All right. We've got official person. So to me, it's like there's someone who's really wanted to be like the leader, right? Someone has really wanted to exerted control in this relationship. It could be one of the partners in the relationship, you know, business or personal, take it as it resonates. But for some of you, it's an outside influence that has really wanted to exert control over this relationship. All right. Let's get one on Three of Wands. Let's get one on Three of Wands. Okay. We've got community. So like I said, for some of you, this is a business relationship, right? And it's a very sort of like, a lot of this is going to play out in public, especially for those that are going through this with respect to a business relationship. It's like, it's either community-based business or this is going to play out very publicly for you. Again, I feel like I'm hearing jury of your peers. So some of you are really taking this to court. You're taking it to litigation. You're done talking. You're like, I'm done trying to fix this with you. I'm done trying to work this out amicably. Like, let's see what the judge has to say about it. And finally, let's get one on adjustment, which is the Justice card. Yeah, we've got main male. So for some of you, this is you. For others of you, this is your partner. For some of you that have options, it's your main one is what I'm hearing. Weird. But yeah. So yeah, for a lot of you, there is pressure from outside on your relationship that is going to be like the ending of this. Some of you have really been concerned about this for a while because you have been dealing with a false person. This person could be a fire sign, but they also don't have to be. They could just be someone that is like really out there, very confident. But for a lot of you, these relationships are going to end, or certain aspects of these relationships are going to end like completely. And it's going to bring up a lot of emotions. But again, all of that is meant to take you to where you need to be, and it's all meant for your highest good. All right, my loves, that has been the astro forecast and taroscope for this full moon lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Gemini. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important message from this reading. If you would like to book a personal reading with me or order an astrology report, I'm going to put those links down in the description box below. Click on them, order a report, schedule a reading. I promise you won't be disappointed. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Divine Feminine Works. Every week I do a series called The Week Ahead where I do a quick and dirty tarot read as well as a quick and dirty astro forecast. So I'll put that link in the description box as well. So don't forget to click on that and follow me there. As always, everything I do is a labor of love and comes straight from the bottom of my heart. If you feel so inclined and would like to tip me by buying me a coffee, I'll leave that link in the description box as well. My loves, I wish you peace of mind during this eclipse. It's going to be a bit intense. It's going to be a little rough, but just keep it moving. Don't stay stuck in those emotions and roll with the punches. I guarantee you'll be all right. All right. Thank you so much for watching my video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. See you next time.